There we go. I was trying to connect. Nope. There we go. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 12th of January. This is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be running through the latest AI news and updates of the day, plus taking live audience questions. We're also kicking off our latest cohort for the AI workshop kit today. So today is the final day if you are thinking about applying. We've already got our cohort members in. Everyone's getting started right now. I'm about to shoot a welcome message for them as soon as I finish with this live. But if you do want to still join this cohort number 6, today is the final day. So if you are interested in that, it's aiwithkyle.com/AI workshop kit. Like this, I'll put it below the video, and you can find all information on that page. And if you came to one of the webinars last week, you know all about this. Hopefully you've already put in an application. You can also go straight to aiworkshopkit.com and put in your application there as well if you are interested. But again, today is the deadline, so hopefully I will see a bunch of you in there. Excited for those of you who are already joining us, and I'll see you in there later today after this live. So let's run through the latest updates of the day. We've got finally some AI news has begun, and we are back in business, and we are talking about actually some new stuff happening because it's been very quiet. First of all, there's been a bit of drama with Anthropic, specifically with Claude and Claude Code, and Claude Code being blocked or restricted in certain settings, and it's happening in a few different places, so it's a little bit tricky to kind of get hold of what is happening. But basically Anthropic, the creators of Grok, we're about to talk about Grok in a moment. Anthropic, the creators of Claude and Claude Code, have been restricting access. The underlying reason for this is Claude Code is really good. Claude Code is the best, bar none, coding agent right now. I know there'll be some people in the comments be like, oh, actually it's Codex, or oh, Quen's really good. Fine, whatever. Claude Code, 95% of the people out there accept is the best coding agent right now. What this means is a lot of their competitors, including AI companies, are using Claude Code to build their products or making Claude Code available to their customers through a kind of custom interface. Anthropic have had enough of that, and Anthropic are basically pulling up the ladder and saying, nope, we have the best right now. You're not going to profit off giving access to our model. You're not going to profit off using our model to create a better product yourself. So this has caused some upset in the community, but the upset primarily comes from the fact that people were relying on Claude Code instead of working this stuff out themselves. So a couple of things has happened. One is Anthropic have blocked third-party usage of Claude Code subscriptions. This is specifically in companies like OpenCode, for example. This is somebody on the OpenCode GitHub saying, oh, you've got a bug, my Claude Code has stopped working. Basically what happened is Claude Code pulled access. So Anthropic pulled access and disallowed third-party tools like OpenCode to use the Claude Code subscriptions to access the API. It gets a bit technical at that point, so you don't need to worry too much. What you do need to know is that Anthropic are saying, nope, you're not going to profit off us having the best model. So what was happening, OpenCode had a workaround which allowed you to use your $200 a month Claude Code subscription, or your Claude subscription, which is actually very cheap if you are a developer, because if you were using that amount of tokens, that amount of usage using the API, which is like the direct connector, it'd probably cost you thousands. But instead, you could get it for $200 per month, and it gave you, or it does give you, a very generous amount. So OpenCode were allowing people to connect their $200 a month subscriptions into OpenCode and then using that to access the API. So somebody actually worked it out here. For folks not following the drama, Anthropic's $200 a month subscription for Claude Code is much cheaper than Anthropic's pay-as-you-go API. In a month of Claude Code, it is easy to use so many large language model tokens that it would have cost you more than $1,000 if you pay via the API. So I personally use the $200 a month subscription, and I've never hit the limits. I'm not a professional coder, but it's more than enough, and I'm using it several hours per day and have no problems. So if I was doing it via the API directly, paying per token, paying per information sent and information sent back, then it would cost me a lot more than $200 per month. So this person goes on to say, why is Anthropic offering such favorable pricing to subscribers? I don't know, but they really want you to use the Claude Code command line interface with their subscription, not the open source open code command line interface. They want open code users to pay API prices, which could be 5 times more. So of course, Open Code, which is a kind of a competitor in this case, has implemented a workaround so that folks paying only $200 a month can use their preferred Open Code command line interface at Anthropic's all-you-can-eat token buffet. So what has happened here is, this has been happening for months, but Anthropic, creators of Claude Code, have suddenly said, nope, that's enough, and they've restricted access. They've basically banned third parties using Claude Code inside of a different interface. And as it's been pointed out, this is not new. This has been disallowed since the beginning. It's just only now Anthropic are taking it seriously and restricting access. The interesting thing, though, is that this happened at exactly the same time as Claude Code access was removed from the Grok team. So xAI, Elon Musk's company, they were using Claude Code to help them program elements of their own AI. Again, this is only happening because Claude Code is the best right now. So I remember months ago, Elon Musk was saying, oh yeah, internally we're using Grok. We're using Grok 4 or Grok 4.1 or 4.2, whatever it was at the time. We're using that to make our systems better because it is the best coding model on earth. That is not the case. Their team members, their engineers are using Claude Code. They are using a competitor's product, a competitor's AI to make their own artificial intelligence, Grok, better. That's telling, extremely telling. So a few days ago, xAI, creator of Grok, staff had been using Anthropic's models internally through Cursor. So Cursor is a development environment until Anthropic cut off the startup's access this week. So xAI's co-founder Tony Wu sent a message round to the xAI team. Basically, this is very funny. It says, hi team, I believe many of you have already discovered that Anthropic models, Claude Code, are not responding on Cursor. According to Cursor, this is a new policy Anthropic is enforcing for all its major competitors. Okay, it is not a new policy. All of the models disallow you from using that AI to build competitive models. That is very basic terms of service, and I'm pretty sure all of them have that. So you're not technically allowed to build your own competitor to ChatGPT using ChatGPT. That's just in the terms of service. Same with Anthropic. You are not allowed to use Claude to build a competitor to Claude. Pretty standard stuff. However, they have not been enforcing it. This is both good and bad news. This is the co-founder, Tony Wu. We will get hit on productivity. So they are using it internally, they were using it to make their product better, but it really pushes us to develop our own coding product and models. Remember, Elon Musk was saying we have the best coding tools already. Grok is the best at coding. They're not using it at xAI, they're using Claude Code. And this is the co-founder of xAI saying, yeah, we need to do better. We need something we can actually use internally. We're at a time in which AI is now a critical technology for our own productivity. So an AI company using AI to build AI. This coming year is really going to be wildly exciting for all of us. The team is rapidly developing our own models and product. We'll have something to share with everyone soon. In the meantime, you may still try all different kinds of models in Grok build. So yeah, this puts egg on Elon Musk's face because his own team, his own AI team, do not use their own AI. Instead, they use a competitor, and that competitor said, not anymore, and restricted access. So pretty funny and a big L for Elon Musk. ChatGPT have jumped in because ChatGPT, OpenAI haven't really been in the news for the last few weeks. Claude and Claude Code have been dominating because everyone suddenly realized like, wow, Claude Code's really good, right? So ChatGPT, seeing that people were upset that Claude Code has been removed from third-party tools, it's been restricted, they jumped in and they were like, oh, don't worry, we're here. So with the Claude Code shutdown, I'm proud that we build codecs in the open with our OSS, open source repo, and we are 100% invested in supporting a flourishing ecosystem of agentic coding tools out there. So ChatGPT jumped in and said, hey, we're not like Claude. We won't restrict access. We are open. We are OpenAI. You can use our tools. This is a very easy thing to do and a very easy position to take when you are behind. Remember, all of this, restriction of Claude Code in third parties, restriction of Claude Code to your competitors like xAI, this is because Claude Code is the best. It is the best tool out there, and that's why they're restricting, and that's the only reason why ChatGPT are able to come out and say, oh, we support openness, and oh, we support, we'd never act like Claude Code. That's very easy to say when you are behind. When you're on top, it changes things. So I think the technical details of what's being restricted and who can't use what don't really affect us on the day-to-day. It's not that important. But the power dynamics here are really interesting because Claude and Anthropic are becoming more confident. They know what they have is the best in the market, and they are flexing their muscles because of that. I'm going to hop over to some questions. ChatGPT has been in the news lately. What for? Oh, ChatGPT Health. Yeah, a few days ago, ChatGPT Health. That's kind of it, though, since the new year. I can't think. ChatGPT shopping was before the new year. ChatGPT Health was a few days ago. That's kind of it. Most of the discourse has been Claude Code primarily. Can't see anything with comments all over your screen share. Go to YouTube. I can't share fully on TikTok because then TikTok blocks the stream. It says it basically says you're sharing copywritten material and you're not allowed to share this stuff, and it stops the stream. So I have to make it small, unfortunately. Have you used Manus? Yes, Manus is fantastic, really good. One of the best things about Manus right now, which I'm going to cover it because a lot of people missed this because they released it just before Christmas, but it's basically magic. So there we go. So 18th of December. This very, very rarely does a magical moment in AI come up. And this for me, a few weeks ago, was one of them. But it was just before Christmas. It was just before everything got busy. And I think it got lost in the shuffle. So Nano Banana can create slides. So if you use Notebook LM, you can make slide decks. I'll show you a quick example. So this here that you see on screen, this was created by Nano Banana. I gave it a website address, which has one of my mini courses on it, and it basically made this slide deck for me. It's really good, really, really good. The problem with this in Notebook LM is that it is not editable. I can't get like this here, let's be clear, colon, that's very AI. So normally I'd want to get rid of that. I can't do that on Notebook LM, and I can't do it on the PDF. So it's a pain in the butt. What Manus did was, have I lost Manus? I've lost Manus. There we go. Manus have added the ability to edit those slides directly inside of Manus, which is basically magic. It feels like black magic. So it will create using Nano Banana Pro from Google, but then you can select text, you can select images, you can move elements around, you can edit, you can change, you can regenerate certain parts. So that's always an annoying thing when you're generating AI images. You'll say, oh, can you just change this table, for example, and it will change everything and it will move everything around and it will make a complete mess of it. So what they've done is they've allowed you to edit directly. So you can select text inside of the image and edit it in Manus. Really cool. You can point at certain elements and you can say, can you change this part specifically? So here's an example. This is changing the gradient from blue to white to, I don't know, transparent through this rainbow here. So it means you can combine the tools. You can combine Nano Banana, which creates amazing slide decks, things that look like this, which is really cool. But you can use Manus to also edit, which is just such a cool use. And very, very few people have been know about it or have been using it. Manus, I don't know what's going to happen with Manus though, because it has been purchased by Meta, so the creators of Facebook and Instagram. So I hope that they're going to have a bright future, because Manus is a really, really cool tool, but it's all up in the air right now. A couple of weeks ago, they got purchased. Meta have purchased several companies before, or they've hired in talent, and then it just kind of disappeared and nothing came of it. So I hope that's not the case with Manus. I hope that they're instead going to be given funding to build really, really cool stuff. Fingers crossed, we don't know. One of the best AI daily info shows. Thanks for turning up each day, Kyle. Thank you, Quirk. I'm nothing if not stubborn and persistent. I will keep turning up every day. At the moment I'm away. I'm not in London either. I would flip the camera and show you the... it's not sunny today, it's actually raining. I'm in Cyprus, and it's one of the very few days a year that it's been raining, so it's not so nice to look at. Oh, hey Lyra, how are you doing? And hi Danny, how are you guys doing? Actually, talking about Cyprus, so I just pulled this off a tree earlier today, because we have lemon trees, we have orange trees, very, very cool. But I wanted to talk about lemons and launch lemonade in particular. So I am teaming up, partnering with Shen, the amazing Shen Solon. Let me pull up her website. If you don't know Shen, definitely go and follow her on social media. She's on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, I think she's big on. This is Shen. So Shen's been a friend of mine for the last couple of years, and we meet up every once in a while, but we are now officially working together on Launch Lemonade. So Launch Lemonade is her company. She's just raised, so she just did a successful fundraising and is really pushing forward with Launch Lemonade. What Launch Lemonade does is allows anybody to build AI agents, anybody to build AI workflows, AI tools, and the kind of things. The reason why I want to work with her is because we need these tools in the hands of everyday people. There are technical people out there who are building amazing stuff with AI. Fantastic, love it. People who are vibe coding, people who are coding, people who are creating stuff. But there's a huge amount of expertise locked in the heads of normal people out there. Lawyers, accountants, social workers, engineers, whatever. People who are doing the job on the day-to-day and have a huge amount of information inside of their head, and they know they could probably build something with artificial intelligence, but they have no idea how to do so. And when they come on a stream like this, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, just get Cursor and, install Claude Code. It's too much, it's too confusing. So what Launch Lemonade have done, have made building agents and building workflows and building AI assistants really, really, really simple. So that's why I'm working with her, because I want to get more people involved with AI. My mission, it sounds a bit highfalutin, but what I'm aiming at is to get 1 million people AI ready by 2030, excuse me. Because I fear that a lot of us are going to get left behind, because we fear that the technology is scary, that we don't know how to start, we don't know what to do with it. I'm working on the education side, but Shen has built a tool which allows people to just do the thing. So I'm going to be talking about Launch Lemonade a lot more in the future, and picking lemons off the tree every time I do. So keep an eye on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, where I'm going to be specifically talking about the kind of things you can do with Launch Lemonade, and helping you to think about how you can combine your expertise, what you do on the day-to-day basis, the things that you know that a lot of people don't know, but how you can start to package that up into an AI assistant, an AI agent, an AI tool, which you can use internally yourself, or you can use to, you can build it into a business and sell access to other people. Really, really, really big opportunity right now. It's just how we get that done. And Launch Lemonade is an amazing tool for doing that as well. Lyra says, it was you who promoted me to use Lovable, and now I have 2 working projects. Amazing. Lovable is so good. And I know I bully people. I'm like, just use it. Just go on the website and use it. But there's no other way, because there's a big barrier between having an idea and knowing, oh, I could probably use AI, I could do something cool with AI here, but then actually turning that into a reality. I'd love to know what your projects are, Lyra. Genuinely, it's so easy. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I go and give workshops, I go and give training to companies. And my favorite example is I went and taught a charity, and I went in and they were very, very kind of, oh, we don't know about AI, it's very technical, and we need to know maths and stuff, and we're not very good at computers. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, where did you get that from? And they told me what had happened is a guy had come in, a guy with 2 PhDs, had written a textbook, a textbook about machine learning, and he knew AI and large language models like the back of his hand, like an absolute expert academically. And he came in and he talked to the heads of this charity about large language models and how LLMs work, and how they are trained, and inference versus training, and backpropagation, gradient descent, etc., neural nets. Stuff that is really interesting and it's fascinating, but is not necessary to use AI. We are at a different level of abstraction now, in the same way that when I go and start the car up, I don't really know how the internal combustion engine is working. Wait, no, it's electric. It doesn't even have an internal combustion engine, so ignore that. I don't really know how that's working, but I can drive. So that's the same thing with something like Lovable. That's the same thing with Launch Lemonade. It's a level of abstraction above, so you're elevated up from the weeds and you're able to build with it without necessarily, you don't have to understand how it's built. You don't have to build it from scratch yourself every time. And that's why these tools are so powerful. So when I went in and talked to this charity and found out they were hesitant about AI, and I found out that they'd been told about gradient descent, don't need to know that. I think he's managed to not go through the calculus of it all, but it was close. And the first thing I said to them is, well, can you use WhatsApp? And they're like, yeah, of course we can use WhatsApp. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's load up into ChatGPT and we're going to have a chat with it. And I showed them how to do lasagna recipes. And then we planned a kid's birthday party in ChatGPT. And they realized, like, oh, you just chat to it. You just type, or you even use your voice. It's like, yeah, it's really cool. And then from there, kind of their imaginations took them the rest of the way, and they started to build things, and then they come back to me for complicated things like how do we set up projects, etc. But you need to get over that first hurdle. And that's why Lovable, that's why Launch Lemonade, that's why these tools are really useful, to reduce the barrier, to allow us to build without having to delve into the complexities of it all. A disability app for universities, very niche, is my job. Oh, very cool. No, without prompting. I'd love to, I'm happy to showcase it on the live if you send me a link one day, or DM it to me. Don't worry about promoting it, but I'd love to see what you built, because that is amazing that we can just have an idea for something and create it. And a lot of people still haven't tried vibe coding because it still has the word coding in it. It sounds complicated, but we need to kind of get over that and just try it. And Claude Code is one way. It's not Claude Code. Lovable is probably one of the easiest ways into vibe coding. Okay, I'm going to hop over to this. I thought was really cool. So this dude is he the head of Shopify? Yeah, Shopify CEO. That's irrelevant here. What is relevant is the ability to, as we were talking about just now, create anything, any idea that we have, and the ability to go from just a spark of imagination to a working product in a few minutes. So in this particular case, this is a really, really cool use of AI. So this guy has an annual MRI scan, and they give him a USB stick with the data. But you need some complicated commercial Windows software to open it. And it's probably, well, one, he probably doesn't have Windows, he's probably on a Mac. And two, it's probably expensive because it's for MRI technicians, imaging technicians. And it's going to come with some expensive medical license. So for most people, this USB stick full of data with your MRI on it is going to be pretty useless. You have to take it to the doctor and they can scan through it. So he took the data, he gave it to Claude Code, and he said, can you make me a viewer can you make me an HTML-based viewer, so it would work in a web browser anywhere, and it ended up looking and feeling and being functionally better than the piece of archaic commercial software that is sold to medicals. So he did this for fun. He did this so he could look at his own MRI data, and he goes through it and he says, it annotates everything with the findings, and you can just kind of tinker around with it and play around and get information out of this data that's been given to you. I did something similar last week with my genome. I have the whole of my human genome, all of the, whatever they're called, the ACTG nucleotides in a 5.5 megabyte text file. So I threw it into Claude Code and I was like, let's see what we can build. And I made visualizations out of it, which is really cool. So if you have an idea, you can just build it now. You can just create what it is you're interested in. The other thing I created last week was a public speaking. I've lost the link to it because I was using my other computer. I think it was Speaking Coach. Nope. I've totally forgotten what it was. There we go. No, it's not. I built a speaking coach, so I can upload a video of myself, like a live like this, or a webinar, or a short TikTok or whatever. I can upload it into this tool, and it analyzes my body language. It kind of tracks how much my hands are on screen. It analyzes my posture, analyzes how much eye contact I have with the camera. It can detect my facial expressions. It measures my words per minute and kind of samples them over the whole video. It looks for filler words like so. So is my killer one. I say so a lot. What else? I've forgotten. Oh, it actually looks at what I say and the patterns of my speech, etc., etc., etc. And it gives me a score for how good my public speaking, for how good my presentation is. And so I'm building this into a tool internally for me that I can feed all of my information, all of my videos into, and it can scan and it can help me get better at speaking. But that is also something that I can flip into a product in the same way that this head of Shopify, I mean, he's probably too busy to do this, but he could potentially turn this into a product that he provides to anyone with MRI data. So it could be sold to medics and hospitals, and there's a lot of money to be made in there, or it can be sold to individuals who just want access to their medical data. They want to be able to delve into it without having to rely on expensive medical software. So your imagination is the only limitation now. Once you learn to mess around with vibe coding, once you learn to just go from an idea to creation. I'm going to hop over to some questions, and then I'm going to talk about, because I know there's a lot of hesitation around vibe coding, and I'm going to show you that one of the most renowned coders on earth is now vibe coding. I use ChatGPT in between my King's appointment with my annual MRIs. Really interesting. So you feed it the MRI and it can assess it. To check between MRIs for any change. Understands my condition. Very helpful in between appointments. Very, very cool. So ChatGPT Health is on its way. It's been released in some countries, but not all. But ChatGPT Health is going to be interesting because it allows you to pull all your medical data into one place, which has not really been the case. Most of us have our medical data and our kind of assessments and our information kind of scattered all over the place, for good reasons, for patient confidentiality, for data security, etc. But ChatGPT Health opens up the possibility of having this kind of holistic view of our health. There are risks involved in that. Do we want to give our private medical data to OpenAI? That's a big question, and a lot of people will say absolutely not. But there are also opportunities here, which is this comprehensive overview of all of our health data and being able to see how different things interact with each other. So yes, an MRI scan, but also let's say you have a blood test, and also if you are talking to it on a daily basis about how you're feeling, etc., it'll be able to find patterns, and I won't use the word diagnose, but point us in certain directions much more effectively than going to see the doctor, once a year. Gosh, I mean, the last time I saw a doctor was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So ChatGPT is definitely going to be better for me. Where on your site is full guide and free courses? So if you go to AI with Kyle and click on courses, there's maybe 8. Oh, it's missing one. 8 or 9 courses in there. If you click on the catalogue, there's 100 plus text courses. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Actually, something that I want to highlight, which I just built, is the AI Canon. So one of the best AI learning resources out there is something called the AI Canon. It's the canon literature of the AI world. This originally comes from, let me bring it up, Andreessen Horowitz. So this page here, it's a couple of years old, but it has the foundational material, so it's still very important. But it walks you through gentle introduction, foundational learning, explainers, tech deep dives, etc., etc. It's a really useful resource, but on this page, the AI Canon on A16Z or Z, it's a bit hard to work through. So what I've done is I've put together an easier way to do that. I've pulled it from Andreessen Horowitz, it's linked there, but it has all of the papers, all of the courses, all of the articles, the videos, etc. I've pulled them all into one place for you, and it's going to be a lot easier. So it starts up here with the gentle introduction. So this is mainly Andrej Karpathy stuff. This is Stephen Wolfram's What is ChatGPT Doing? How's it working? How do transformers work? That's Markowitz, I think. Stable diffusion, etc. Then foundational learning. This is more courses. So this one, for example, is, let's have a look, deep learning, practical deep learning for coders. So this is obviously more technical, but this is a really, really good free course on deep learning. Really good. It's by, oh gosh, blanking out, Jeremy Howard. And then from here it goes more and more complex into practical building, so how you actually build large language models from scratch. And then down at the bottom we have archive papers. So these are the foundational papers in the field of artificial intelligence, modern artificial intelligence. So starting with Attention is All You Need, that's 2014. That kind of kicked off the large language model revolution. Got one on BERT, etc., etc. So I've put all of this together in one place. If you go to aiwithkyle.com, AI Canon, you'll find it in the top bar, AI Canon, and that has all of the resources in there. That is obviously free. This is just linking you to those resources if you want to really deepen your knowledge of artificial intelligence. Also, if you're logged in, you can tick, I've completed this, and you can keep track of what you still need to read. Oh, and one very cool thing, because just reading stuff nowadays is kind of old-fashioned, and we have better tools at our disposal. What I've done, which I thought was fun, was I've added some Learn with AI elements. So here I can click on, if I'm using ChatGPT, I can ask ChatGPT to explain this article simply. And all this does is preloads in a prompt, gives it the resource, asks it a few questions, and then it allows me to have a discussion with ChatGPT based on that article. So here, for example, I've pulled it in, Software 2.0 by Andrej Karpathy. I pulled in that article into ChatGPT, and it will give me a summary. I can also put it into tutor mode, or I can test my understanding. So if I click on test my understanding, again, it's going to pre-fill that prompt for me. And it's going to allow me to engage with the material at a much deeper level, because we can either use AI to be lazy, or we can use AI to learn. And if you spend a bit of time each day talking with ChatGPT, talking with Claude about topics you want to learn more about, you can really get quite deep very fast. How does Software 2.0 differ from traditional Software 1.0 programming? In how software logic is created? Hint, think about human written rules versus learned patterns, etc., etc. So this allows you to get into the AI canon in some depth and to actually have an intuitive understanding of it, instead of just reading through a paper like Attention is All You Need and being like, don't really get it, but cool, I've read it. Instead, this forces you to actually engage with the material. So hopefully it's going to be useful. Again, that's at AI with Kyle. slash AI Canon. That's just a fun little side project I built because we can just build stuff now. It's great. ChatGPT helped me get my MS diagnosis. Really? Wow. Okay, that's an amazing story. I'd love to hear more about that one day. What do you think about AI CFO SaaS services to SME companies? There's a lot of acronyms there. What do you mean? What do I think about it? Like, oh, to help them predict their cash flow and forecasting. It's doable. It's doable. What I would say is large language models, like the modern AI that we're using on the daily basis, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., aren't very good at this. That is not what they're good at. They're not very good at numbers. You can connect them to Python, you can connect them to predictive analytics, etc. But if you are trying to predict cash flow and forecasting out of the box using ChatGPT, it's just going to make stuff up. Because that's not what it's for. However, there are other forms of artificial intelligence, predictive AI rather than generative AI. It's a different field that 100% can be used, 100%. So go and have a look at that kind of stuff. But in terms of AI CFO SaaS services to SME companies, maybe you need to test out the market. I would say SME, sounds terrible, but selling to small businesses is a pain. Selling to individuals and small businesses is a lot harder work than just selling to larger businesses. So if you are building something that can actually predict cash flow and it can do forecasting, sell it to larger companies, sell it to enterprises. If it works, then your sales process is going to be fairly similar. It's going to be more B2B, more enterprise level, but the revenues from it will be 100 times as much, and that allows you to reinvest in your sales team. It allows you to reinvest in your company and to really grow. Selling to SMEs, kind of it feels easier initially, but because bringing in money from selling to smaller companies is much harder, it doesn't allow you to scale. It doesn't allow you to increase the quality of your service as much. So I would say avoid selling to them unless there's a very good reason to. Okay, let's look at this. So this is a commit from Torvalds, Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds, I'll pull him up so we can, he created, a Finnish-American software engineer. So he created Linux. You don't necessarily need to know what Linux is, but Linux sits at the base of a huge amount of our software. Basically, he created the Linux kernel. He is considered one of the, I don't even know how to describe him here. So while like Bill Gates, etc., were creating closed source operating systems like Windows, making a huge amount of money, Linus Torvalds was out there creating Linux and opening it up and making it available to everybody. It has become, in various different guises, the foundation of most of the world's computers. So the servers out there, for example, will tend to run on Linux. It's also, through, again, different mutations, the foundation of Unix, and that has led to things like, Mac OS. So if you're on a Mac, you're also using something created by Linus Torvalds. So he's, in the history of kind of software development, he is incredibly important. He has started to vibe code. Now, a lot of people have, here we go, so this is chubby. A lot of people are blowing this out of proportion. It says, so the legend himself, Linus Torvalds, has said that vibe coding on the Linux kernel using AI runs better than handwritten code using Google's anti-gravity. So I've got the quote here, is this much better than I could do by hand? Sure is. Very important. Torvalds is not working on the Linux kernel, the base code of Linux, using vibe coding. He is instead building, I think it's a audio noise. He's building, I think, a guitar pedal piece of software, random digital audio effects. It's a hobby project. He's playing around with vibe coding in a hobby project. So if you see people saying that Torvalds and Linux is now being vibe coded, that is a lie. That is not true. That is clickbaity nonsense. What he is doing is he's playing around with vibe coding inside of a hobby project. That said, this is still really important because this is his commit. So he says, this is Google Anti-Gravity fixing up my visualization tool. So he's written this as he commits the code. Also generated with help from Google, but of the normal kind. It mostly went smoothly, although I had to figure out what the problem was using the built-in rectangle select was. Some technical problem. After telling Anti-Gravity to just do a custom rectangle selector, things are much better. Is this much better than I could do by hand? He asks rhetorically. Sure is. So yes, this is a little hobby project, something that Linus is playing around with, but he's still saying that the quality of the code generated using Google Anti-Gravity is better than what he could personally do if he was writing it out by hand. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. Also interesting that he's using anti-gravity rather than Claude Code, or he might be using Claude inside of anti-gravity, but very interesting. But as you can imagine, places like the programming subreddit are exploding over this because he's a demigod to the community. So they have quite rightly pointed out that this is software he created for guitar pedals. I think the title might make people think he's vibe coding the kernel. That said, I think most experienced software engineers would agree that being able to read and understand code is a more critical skill than writing it, etc. There's a lot of defense, basically, that yes, he's using it, but it's just a silly little project, or he doesn't really write much code anymore anyway, and we don't need to worry about this, which I think is very much shoving their heads in the sand at this point, because this is one of the greatest software developers of all time is playing around with vibe coding and says, yeah, it's really good. It is really, really, really good. So no, he might not be programming and vibe coding the Linux kernel using vibe coding, but he is using it and he does find it very, very powerful and very useful. So if you are worried about the quality of vibe coding, maybe you don't need to be as much as you are. I thought he said it's better by hand. No, he says, is this much better than I could do by hand? Sure is. So he's saying that anti-gravity did better than he could by hand. So he is very much saying that the vibe coding is better than he could do, which should ring some alarm bells for people. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to finish off on one kind of bittersweet news story, which is the use of artificial intelligence for mountain rescue. So the ability to use drones to scan a whole mountain, to take photos of a whole mountain, and then look for anomalies and look for potential missing people on a mountain. So this just happened with a guy, where was it? It was in the Alps, I think, Italian region of Piedmont. So Nicola Ivaldo had gone missing. The 66-year-old had failed to show up at work on Monday and an alarm was raised. So somebody went missing on the mountain, and drones were sent up, but the drones took hundreds, if not thousands, of images and video content, and it's a lot to sort through in order to find this missing person on a potentially absolutely massive mountain or a huge amount of land. In this case, AI was used, and AI pattern detected where the person could potentially be. They were too late in this case, and this poor person did die. However, AI was used to kind of locate the body and get the body back off the mountain. So this is a really cool use of AI. Obviously, we need to go faster. We need to deploy the drones quicker. We need faster AIs to detect so we can get to the person before they expire. But I just thought it was a good reminder that we can use these technologies for very, very positive things as well, because there's a lot of fear, a lot of horror out there about what AI is going to be doing. There were stories about Grok being used to undress people, and now it's going to be banned in multiple countries. But at the same time, we can use this technology for wonderful things like search and rescue as well. So this is a technology, and we can choose what we do with it. And it's our job as people who are actively engaged in this to make sure that we're using it for the right things, make sure that we're helping other people use it for the right things, and we can steer the ship. This is not out of our hands. It's up to us how we work with and engage with this technology. And this is just an example of a really cool usage, and I hope this gets even better. Do you have a prompt guide on building AI agents? Not specifically, but I would, it depends what kind of level. Are you trying to build from scratch? Are you familiar with kind of building from scratch, or are you less technical and you're looking to get your expertise into an AI agent? If it is the latter, I'm going to recommend Launch Lemonade. I'm now working with Shen Solon. I talked about this earlier on the live. This is Shen, the founder of Launch Lemonade, and this can allow you, Launch Lemonade can allow you to very quickly build an agent, so without having to worry about the libraries and creating it from scratch. You can absolutely do that stuff, and there's some good resources for it. I haven't written guides on that personally because it's a bit more technical than most of my readers and most of my followers are interested in, but there are some good resources. But if you are looking for a non-technical way to do it, I would look at Launch Lemonade, and you can basically build agents that you can use internally inside your business, or you can package them up and sell them. You can white label them to other businesses or sell them to individuals. So this platform, Launch Lemonade, allows you to do all of it: build, deploy, sell, and it hooks into all of the major models. You can hook it into Claude, Gemini, if you want images, ChatGPT, etc., etc. So this would be my starting point if you were doing an agent specifically. If you're trying to vibe code an app, so not just an agent, but an app around it potentially, then I would look at Lovable if you do not feel comfortable with the technology, or I would look at Claude Code if you are okay with working with complexity. And I've written multiple guides on using Claude Code as well. There's somewhere, I don't know, I'm not sure where they are on the website. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not sure where they are, but I've written multiple things on Claude Code as well. But it kind of depends on your level and what you're trying to do. From scratch, want to increase my expertise. So I think Hugging Face has a really good guide. Is it this one? Is it small agents? Yeah, it's going to be small agents. This is where I'd actually start. Intro to agents. Here we go. So I'd start on Hugging Face because they have some really good resources on building agentic systems. If you are building an agentic system from scratch, this would be the way to do it. Also, deeplearning.ai has some good courses on agents. Put in agent, probably got quite a few. I think they've got one for Hugging Face specifically. Agentic AI. I think they've got Hugging Face one. Here we go. Building code agents with Hugging Face small agents. You might not want a code agent specifically, but this would be a good place to start for agents. So Hugging Face small agents, really good place to start, and that will you can also build it on Hugging Face as well. You can get access to the models. They have practice data sets, etc., etc. So that would be the place to do it. The pricing is $9 a month for a pro, and that's going to be more than enough for most projects as well. And then if you don't want to deal with the technicalities of building it yourself, then you can use Launch Lemonade, which is just going to be a far simpler way to get one built, get one deployed, and then be able to monetize your agent as well. If you want to sell access to the agent, this is going to be the way to do it. With Hugging Face, you can 100% do it. It's just going to be more technical learning, more of a learning curve, and then you're going to need to work out how to deploy it and paywall it and take subscriptions using Stripe, etc., yourself. 100% doable, just more work. So 2 choices there. How did you screen share here? So on TikTok, really good question. For years, TikTok Live Studio has not been available on Mac. They only released it, I think, at the beginning of December. So now that it's available on Macintosh, nobody calls it that, on Mac, I can now screen share. Prior to that, I could not. So I'm using my computer, my Mac Mini, a webcam and screen share. If you do want a higher resolution version though, go to YouTube, because I'm also live right now on YouTube, Twitter, and I think Facebook. And they have the kind of larger format one. On TikTok, you can't make it too large. If you make your screen share too large, TikTok thinks that you are showing pirated movies. It kind of assumes like, oh, you must be up to no good, and it bans the stream. So that's why it's a bit squeezed down, unfortunately. It's a bit annoying. Awesome. Right, I'm going to finish up the live. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow around the same time. And then Wednesday, I'll be doing a live. Thursday, I will not, because I'm flying. I don't think I'll be doing one. And then Friday, we'll see. We'll see how jet lagged or tired I am. But I will see you tomorrow morning. Absolutely. Cool. Thank you so much, everybody, and talk soon. Thanks, Lyra.